Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to today's show. I am here with the brilliant, the amazing Jane Jewell, who is our managing director here at Clients on Demand. And today, guys, we are going to be talking about how to overcome self-doubt and self-sabotage. There's nothing that we see that kills businesses faster than when self-doubt just sort of reaches up and paralyzes you. And this is something that I don't care what kind of business you're trying to build or where you're trying to get to. All of us have our own sort of internal comfort zone that we think of what we think is possible for us and the actions that we're comfortable doing. And the moment we try to venture outside of that comfort zone and do something that's a little bit bigger than we thought we were capable of, most of us, myself included, have all of these fear thoughts that just come rushing to the forefront of our minds and are something. So self-doubt and fear are something that happen all of the time. And it's just a question of, do you have the skill set and the resources where you can deal with it and overcome it when it happens and when it comes up? And so that's what we wanted to talk to you about today. So it's a really big topic. Jane, how you doing?
Hey, hello, everyone. So I feel like I haven't been on a show with you in a little while.
I know. It's like Mark and Adrian have been sucking all the air out of the room lately.
Always the Mark show.
Losers. All right.
So here's the thing about like doubt or uncertainty is the number one problem with doubt and uncertainty is we think we shouldn't have doubt feeling these things. When the truth of the matter is, you never do something like super big and outrageous without a little bit of fear, without a little bit of uncertainty. And none of that would happen if you didn't have courage. So it's almost like you have to experience the uncertainty. You have to experience the not knowing. And in the face of that, you flip that around, you get to feel bold. You get to get into courageousness. You can't have one without the other. But the problem is that I see so many clients dipping into is feeling like, well, I shouldn't feel this way. You know what? I feel this way. I guess it's just not meant to be. It's just not meant to be, which is such a funny thing. Like, you know, it's like, if I feel this way, it must not be meant to be. And I can see where that thought might have been originated, but most of the time, it's just an excuse to keep yourself small.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like it's just something that says, and I'm not talking about you have to force everything, right? Like everything shouldn't feel like super forceful and super hard all the time. But when you're starting out, like you need a lot of gas, right? Like you need that chutzpah, you need that hustle, you need that grit. It feels hard at first. Now, once you get momentum, then it doesn't feel so hard. But in the beginning, you're creating muscles. It feels a little hard.
So you made a couple great points there, Jane, that I want to kind of like touch on. So the first thing is that, guys, everyone feels this way. You know, it's funny. I was reading an article the other day about this guy who's a free climber, and he free climbs like these mountains. I mean, like free climbing, like no rope, no nothing. The guy's climbing like with just his hands, and they actually, you know, did a psychological study on this guy, and they actually found out that this guy's actually like missing the part of the brain that creates
he's a little
fear.
crazy.
Yeah. So, but like he literally physically does not have the part of the brain that creates fear. And so he's just like, oh yeah, of course I'm going to climb that mountain or whatever. Now, that's probably not that great because it's making him do like really, really dangerous stuff that most people would be like, that's not such a good idea to like free climb El Capitan, like and be 3,000 feet, 3,000 feet off the ground with no rope. I'm like, yeah, that's not, I don't know about that. But those people aside who have like this like literal physical abnormality, everybody feels massive, massive fear and massive anxiety. And I would even say that the bigger the thing that you are trying to do, the more afraid you are going to be. And so I just want you guys to understand that it isn't this thing where, successful people or these go-getter people, that they're not feeling the same fear that you are. I can promise you, yes, they are. The difference is that they've come into a knowledge of how to shift their thinking so that that fear doesn't paralyze them. And like Jane pointed out, so that's the first thing I want you guys to understand is that if you're feeling those things, you shouldn't be ashamed of it at all because everyone is totally afraid. But the second thing that I want to point out is that overcoming that fear is what gets you stronger. Because the truth is, even though you're always going to feel the fear, the moment you do something, the death of fear is certain. So when you do that thing that you're afraid of, and then you do it again, and then you do it again, and then you do it again, all of a sudden you stop being afraid of it. And so then what happens is that comfort zone that you've built for yourself, it can now begin to expand and expand and expand and expand. And so where you guys want to be operating is right on that edge where you're not feeling safe and warm and cozy all the time, where it's like, oh, this is a piece of cake. And at the same time, you're not putting yourself so far out on a limb that you're literally just like melting down with fear. You want to put yourself in that stretch zone, because where you're sort of right on the edge of like, this is scary as hell. I don't know if I can do it, but let's dive in and let's see what we can do. And then the more you do that, the more your circle expands in terms of what you're comfortable with and what you can achieve. And so this is this process that never, ever, ever ends. But I wanted to point that out, Jane, because I think that so many people are so ashamed by feeling that fear and feeling that self-doubt that they never actually take action. They never get off the ground, and they tell themselves, well, yeah, he can do that, but I can't do that because I'm, I don't know, that freaks me out. And you have to understand that everyone feels that way. I was talking to a gal who is just a friend of a friend, and we just happened to be talking, and she's got like a regular like 9-to-5 type job, and she's thinking about starting her own business. And I was talking to her, JJ, about like, well, yeah, just like set goals and like visualize and figure out what you want to do, and if it's something I can help you with, I'm more than happy to help. And just hearing me say things like set goals, you can do stuff, blah blah blah.
You've been hanging out with me too long.
She was well, no, right, but just like me saying those things to her, she was starting to get like anxiety about it. Just going like, oh dude, yeah, but you're telling me to like set goals, and like, I don't know, man, that whole idea of setting goals really freaks me out. Now for me, I was like, wait, that's like step one. It's just to say I'm gonna do this, whether you actually go and do it or not. Like step one is just to be like, yeah, I want to make $1 million, cool, or whatever it is. But for her, even getting to that first step of just declaring what she wanted was enough to give her anxiety. But I want you guys to understand that everyone who's ever done anything has felt some version of that. And yeah, some people might feel it more, some people might feel like less, but everyone feels it. So don't be ashamed at all. Just trust that the fact that you're feeling that fear in the first place is a sign that you're thinking about doing something that's probably going to change your life.
Yep. You're up to something big. I always say when you set a goal or an intention or have an outcome, it should always like kind of catch your breath a little bit. Like always kind of be like, ooh, like just kind of catch your breath, and that you're on the right track. And the thing is if you can accept that fear is never going to completely go away, and that uncertainty is never, ever going to completely go away, then you can stop resisting it. Like really stop resisting it and embrace it a little. And I got to tell you, sometimes I get stuck in it too. And I've been doing this for 25 years, right? Like it's one of those things that, like you're saying, Russ, though, you do get better about it and more conscious about it. Like I went back home to Massachusetts, over Thanksgiving break. And I noticed, I was talking to a friend, and it doesn't really matter what we were talking about, but I noticed that there was a part of me that went like, what are they going to think about me? Like I said something, and I was like, it was an instant, like an instant where I went, because it was about me up leveling my life. And I was like, oh, they're going to judge me because I'm spending so much money, or I'm doing this, or, and I realized that I felt that uncertainty, right? I felt that a doubt, like, what are they going to think? Is this going to create separation? And it was so awesome because in a matter of, 30 seconds of noticing I was uncomfortable in my body. It's like your emotions, if you can get that it's just like your internal guidance system, like you're up to some really big things. Like if you can just take on the belief, take on the knowledge that your emotions are just your internal guidance system to kind of go, what's going on here? What's happening? What's not supporting me? What thought's not working? If you can just get that. So when that moment happened for me, I started to realize I was like kind of ready to cover up, and contract and get small. I was like, whoa, what's that all about? Kind of like, ooh, I'm just afraid that they're going to judge me about this. But you know what? This one thing I really love about myself, I'm going to own it. Right. And then it was like really just like a really quick, like 30-second turnaround. But it came from like what's happening? I don't like the way that this feels. What's that really about? But what do I really believe in my core and my values? And then it happened like really, really quick. But it's about just embracing whatever feeling that is.
So that's a big distinction.
You have to embrace it.
That's a big distinction, guys, because there's so many people. I know that when I sort of first started looking into, this idea that your thoughts and your feelings create the outcomes in your life, right? And this is sort of an idea where people frame it in different ways, like law of attraction or this and that and the other. But basically, what you're feeling and what you're thinking and what you deeply believe determines what happens in your life. So when you accept that idea, you can begin to really develop like an unhealthy paranoia of your negative emotions, where it's like, oh my God, I'm feeling fear. I must be attracting to me all this bad stuff. And then you try, seriously, right. And then you become afraid of your fear, which is like the weirdest thing in the world.
Right.
I'm afraid
right.
that I'm afraid that I'm afraid that I'm afraid. But the honest truth, guys, is that the answer to that problem is very, very simple. You just have to accept the way that you feel. So Jane accepted in that moment, okay, I'm freaking out a little bit. I accept it. Let me look and see what's going on. What am I thinking about? What am I feeling? What am I believing here? What am I worried about? And then you can sort of choose a better feeling thought. You can choose, okay, great. I accept I'm feeling super anxious right now. That's cool. Let me see why I'm feeling that way and let me try to move out of it. But to sit there and go, oh, no, I'm not allowed to be afraid, or I'm not allowed to be anxious, or I'm not allowed to feel that self-doubt. You're going to feel it. And so just because you're feeling it, it doesn't mean that you're setting yourself up for some horrible failure. I actually think it means that you're probably doing something that's got the power to change your life. And so when you feel that feeling in the moment, don't beat yourself up for it. Accept it. Accept it. And then take a look at like, okay, well, what is this trying to tell me right now? Is it just like, oh God, Russ, don't screw up? That's usually what it is. Cool. Great. I won't screw up. Let me go out and do this,
Yeah, I think that all of those fears really come down to, what will people think of me, right? Like it all comes down to that. What will they think? And will that lead to a loss of love or a loss of connection? The second one would be, am I enough? And if I'm not enough, will that lead to a loss of love, a loss of connection? Right? Like those are the two primary fears that always stand in our way. Even when it comes with, we'll have clients come to us and say, well, what if I can't deliver my promises to my clients? That's all about, again, I'm not enough. They're not going to like me. I didn't serve them enough. It'll give me loss of connection.
So you're saying that most of this self-doubt revolves around one of these two questions or both of these two questions. It's, am I enough? And it's, what will other people think? Let me just put both of those on the screen at the same time. So it's, am I enough? Meaning like, can I actually do this thing that I'm trying to do? Am I enough where I can actually go out and do this? And then the second thing is, what will other people think? So it's very odd because, I feel like the internet has been a double-edged sword when it comes to this kind of thing, right? Yeah. Because you have the ability now to reach other people and to put your message in front of other people in a way that you never could before. So we've grown clients on demand very, very, very rapidly through online advertising and online marketing. I was thinking the other day, I was like, God, is there any way we could have done this at all? Like if in like 1983 or something? Of course not.
No.
Because yeah, what are we gonna do? Put it in the yellow pages? Put it in the paper? I mean, we could have done something, but not to the degree that we're doing it now. And so there's this incredible power to reach people all over the world, right? So that's great. The downside is that the internet has literally given everyone a voice, and everyone feels like they have to put their 2 cents in. And because you're just typing behind a keyboard, it's not someone standing there in front of you having a real conversation with you. It's someone just hiding behind their keyboard, basically just projecting their BS onto you. It's like we live in a world where the moment you try to do something good, or the moment you try to do something worthwhile, someone is going to have something to say about it. Because just the fact that you are doing something extraordinary, or let's not even say doing something extraordinary. Let's just say attempting something extraordinary.
Put yourself out there.
Yes, just putting yourself out there is so threatening to so many other people who, for whatever reason, just are unwilling or unable to do that, that immediately you're going to have people that are trying to tear you down. And so
or
people
those
are like,
other people,
go
yeah,
ahead.
or those other people actually get their sense of self-worth by beating on someone else.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's the other thing, is like other people use that as a vehicle or a way to meet their own needs for it. Like this, you're like, I might not be up to changing the world, but you know what? I get a lot of significance by taking someone else's thoughts down by changing the world.
Right. And I see this especially on Twitter, you guys. Like, we do most of our marketing on Facebook, because Facebook is a place where it's like, it's your real face. It's your real name. There's at least some sense that there's a real person involved in this interaction. And yeah, people will still say horrible things to each other on Facebook, but on Twitter, it's like a cesspool, because you got all these people on Twitter that maybe won't even put their real name on their Twitter account to begin with. And then number two, a tweet is limited to like 140 characters. So it almost forces you to just drop some snarky little reply in there instead of actually like putting together a coherent
your
thought.
niceties. Right.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So the clients will come on the Q&A call and they'll say, hey, Russ, I'm about to run my Facebook ads. I'm afraid, well, what's going to happen if someone says something negative on my Facebook ads? Or what's going to happen if somebody says something negative in my Facebook group? And I say, look, guess what? There is a 100% chance that is going to happen. No question about it. You cannot do anything worthwhile anymore without somebody having something to say. So we're going to talk in a minute about how you overcome that fear. But I just want you guys to understand that we're not coming on here and saying, oh, well, you're so worried what other people think. Why are you worried about that? That's never going to happen. I'm guaranteeing it's going to happen. If you try to do something special in this world, you are going to get someone hating on you. But what you need to understand is that that's just that person projecting. They're projecting their own fears. They're projecting their own lack of self-worth. They're trying to get a little bit of significance for themselves, like Jane said, by tearing down successful people. Your very existence in the world, the fact that you are deciding not to play by whatever their rules are, and you're trying to create something beautiful for yourself and do some good in the world, is so challenging and threatening to other people that they're going to try to shut you down. They're going to try to say stuff about you. So it's not a question of avoiding that. Trying to avoid that is a huge, huge, huge trap. Because it's not about you. That's what I'm trying to say. If you could be doing a phenomenal job in the most ethical way, and you could be the most brilliant like saint on the planet, and someone is going to have something to say about you. I don't care who it is. Like, think of anybody that you admire. I guarantee you there's millions of people hating on that person. For sure. So these fears are justified. But the issue is, okay, great. How the hell do we deal with it?
So I think I'm going to just recap. Is one thing is just accept it. Like, one of the things is just accept that you're going to have these feelings. Like, just like embrace them. Like, okay, thank you. Right? Like, thank you for like, this is showing me something that's coming up, because I think that embracing it and that accepting of it gives you so much power to really look at like what's really going on, like what's really happening here. And when I do that, I get to get down to what is that belief that's kind of operating, like what's the thing that's like running me, because there's this idea of how you're moving through and operating in the world, like your current actions and behavior. And then there's this like who you are in your core when you're being like your most best transformed, living my values self. And a lot of the times we separate those two things, especially under stress. There's like who Jane is when Jane's awesome, aligned with my values, having a good day, did my morning ritual, like just kicked ass on a Q&A call, right? Like there's like that Jane. And then there's the Jane that like under stress, like, oh my gosh, I just worked 1 million hours and my kids are fighting and they have finals tomorrow. And oh my gosh, what are we going to have for dinner? And then there's that Jane. And the key is being able to operate congruent with who you are,
regardless,
independent of your circumstances.
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So if you're having that moment of whether it's self-doubt or not believing is coming back to your core. Like, hey, I'm feeling this feeling. What's really going on? You know what? All that's really going on is I'm afraid. All that's really going on is I'm afraid of what people think. But what do I really think about that? Does it really matter? Like literally, you almost have to talk to yourself like you would talk to your child. You have to talk to yourself like you would talk to a caring friend and walk someone through that and give yourself that minute. Give yourself that like take a beat. Give yourself a little grace and allow that conversation to take place. And a whole lot will open up if you give yourself that minute to really process what's happening. The other thing that I find really helpful is when you're focusing in on like, what will people think? Or what if I send this email and, people don't like this email because I'm asking them to be my client? And what will my mom think because I'm charging, $3,000 for my program or service? Or what will, when all of that happens, what I notice is all the attention is on myself. All the attention is on me, how it relates to me. Will people like me? Am I like me? And if I shift that and look at how am I providing service? How am I providing impact? How am I doing something that I believe makes a huge difference in the world or a person? Like, it doesn't even have to be this big, like, oh my gosh, I'm out, what I do is transforming the world. And some people have really great services like that. And some people, what they do is that, like, let's say they're helping another person, let's say build a website. Like, how does that matter?
Right. How does that contribute to the welfare and the well-being of your clients that you're working with? And how does that contribute to the world as a whole? Because you realize one of the most powerful thoughts that I've ever come across and that has helped me deal with fear is, Russ, it's not about you. So you look at like, oh my God, I'm going to do a webinar and oh man, I hope I don't screw this up. Oh my God, there's gonna be 1,000 people on this webinar. Oh my God, I'm going to walk out on stage and there's going to be hundreds of people there, thousands of people there. Or, oh, I have to do this breakthrough session with a potential client. And oh my God, what if they say no? Or what if they hang up and they tell me that I suck? Whatever it is, it's not about you. Is it? If you're doing a webinar, you're doing it because the people watching are there to be served. They have a problem that you can fix, and it's your job to shift their understanding around that problem and get them to a point where they want to do something about it. Same thing if you're on stage. If you're on the phone with someone, it's the same thing. Either way, you are there to serve. And so when I realized that, well, hell, it doesn't really matter what anybody says about me because it's not about me in the first place. It's like if someone's going to come on and just project whatever their nonsense is onto me, that's fine, because I'm not here for me. I'm here to make a difference. I'm here to do some good in the world. I'm here to make a huge, huge, huge impact, And
so you coming back to your values too. You got to go like, who am I really? Like, here's what I know to be true about me. What I know to be true about me is that I am so committed to people living a life that I love.
Yeah.
Like, anybody can say whatever it is they want about me, but I can come back to here's what I'm committed to. I'm committed to people like loving their life. Right. And so anything somebody could say about that, that's my truth. That's my truth. So if you come back to like, what are your truths, your values, what's most important to you, and you stand firmly in that, all this stuff kind of happening around you isn't going to matter so much.
But if you're coming at it from a place of total selfishness, where what's driving you, let's just say, is like a need to be loved, that makes it really tough, because when those people come out and they're like, oh, you suck, or whatever they're saying on Twitter, it is really going to get under your skin in a much more destructive way than if you're heart-centered and focused on making an impact. Because look, I'll take the slings and arrows because I want to help my clients win. I don't care. Say what you want about me. I'm helping them succeed. And so I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to go through that fire so I can help them win. But if I was doing this for myself, like if what was driving me was like, I needed to be a big shot, or I wanted to be like a little micro celebrity or something like that, I think my skin would be a lot thinner. You know, and look, and by no stretch of the imagination am I saying that it doesn't bother me when people, you know, talk smack or whatever. Of course it does. But at the end of the day, it's not about me. It's about the people that we're helping. And if that's what gets you out of bed in the morning, and that's what your point of focus is, you are going to have so much more grit and tenacity and courage. Where you're not, it's not going to be as important what other people think. Who cares? I don't care what some guy on Twitter thinks. I care what my clients think. Right. If I've got 1,000 clients and all of them are unhappy, that's a real problem. But if I have 1,000 clients who love me and some idiot on Twitter talking smack, it's like, I don't care. You know?
Yep. I think that that's really important to remember. But again, you have come back to, in saying that, what your core belief is about the value that you create for people. Right? Like that's in your bones now. But and even in the beginning, like it might not have been in your bones because like you're just starting, right? You're just starting your program and it just feels scary. But in the beginning, even saying that is coming back to, you know what? I'm committed.
Right.
Here's what's great. I'm committed. I'm committed to creating something great. And that might mean sometimes along the way that I'm going to mess up. I'm going to get it wrong. I might have unhappy clients, but here's what I know to be true about me. I'm going to do my darndest to serve them right. I'm going to do my darndest to make it right. I'm going to do my darndest to make a huge difference in my clients' lives. And that's the truth.
That's the truth. And the thing is, if you never want to screw up and you never want to make a mistake, cool, don't do anything. All you have to do is just not do anything. And then you'll never make a mistake and you don't have to worry about it. Now, of course, not doing anything is a huge mistake. It's going to cost you more than anything else in the long run. But
well, it costs you ultimately your happiness, your lifestyle, your
everything.
Impact, your children, like relationships, all of it.
But when you do set out to do something great, just understand that you are going to get attacked, and that if you can tap into what your motivation is for doing that thing, and you can put your focus on other people, it's going to make it a lot more powerful, much more simple to deal with this kind of stuff. And so I read this book one time by this guy named Ed Lattimore. He's a boxer and he's on Twitter and he, you know, talks about stuff. But he has this book called Not Caring What Other People Think is a Superpower. And I think that that's more true today than ever before. It's absolutely true. If you can get yourself to this place where you are so dedicated to whatever your mission is and whatever you're focused on, and that's your number one priority, then you're not going to care what other people think. And imagine what you could do if you really didn't care what other people think. I mean, really, where maybe it bothers you a little bit, but it's not something you're obsessed over. Maybe every once in a while you see some negative comment and you're like, F it, I don't care. But you're going to keep doing your thing and you're going to keep serving the people that you were put here to serve. How much more powerful would you be? So guys, like if you're stuck in this self-doubt and this self-sabotage right now, where maybe you've gotten your business up to maybe halfway where you want to go, or maybe you haven't even really taken that first step because you're just in fear and you're like, oh my God, what's going to happen? I really want to invite you to just connect to, okay, wait, this thing that I'm trying to do, who is it going to serve? Who is it going to help? And if that is the gift that I have to give to the world, then who the hell am I not to do that?
I love that. I love that. It all comes down to reminding yourself and standing in your greatness every single day. And that has to be an intentional thought, because it's so much easier. It's so much easier when you feel like you're, someone's throwing punches, or maybe you're the one throwing punches at yourself, because it's all in your head most of the time anyway. 90% of the time, this is all in your head and is never even happening in reality, by the way. That's the truth.
90%. That's another great point. 99.9% of the time, no one's thinking about you at all. So
nobody cares.
No one cares. Yeah, that's a really good point, Jane.
You just keep scrolling.
Yeah, right.
They don't care about
everyone
your
is so
you
busy.
just posted on Facebook that was brave.
Right. Yeah, it's just great. Cool. Like, boom, and then they're on the next thing. Well, most people are so worried about their own stuff that they don't even have time to think about like what other people are doing. But you will have people that are just like so triggered by the thought of you doing something that they're not sure they can do, that their first reaction is going to be to hate on it. Like when we see greatness, we tend to react one of two ways. the healthy way is to go, oh my God, that
That's
person,
amazing.
amazing. Like, oh man, I wonder if I could do that. And if it's something you really want to do, you let that inspire you. Oh my God, that guy did this. Oh my God, I can totally do this. But the unhealthy way is to try to tear that person down because you feel like you can't measure up to what they've done. Oh, well, they did that, but yeah, they, you know, I don't know, they inherited money, or they did that, but they're this, or they're smart, or they're, you know, whatever bullshit story you're going to come up with might be.
Or you might even be in awe of that person, but then use that as a way to get down on yourself. I think that's the third way.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, it is like, sometimes we tear the other person down, but then other times we go, oh, that's so great for them. I could never do that.
Totally. Oh man. And you guys, look, I want you guys to understand that Jane and I have both done this. I'm thinking of a specific individual that I love that was super successful way before I ever began to experience anything like success. And I was exactly what Jane was talking about. I was so happy for this person, but at the same time, it was like eating me alive that this person was able to do all of these incredible things that he was doing, and I was just sitting there like struggling just to kind of like keep the lights on. And it really, really, really messed me up for a long time until finally I got over it, and I just realized, like, look, this person's journey has nothing to do with my journey. If this person can be successful, there's no reason I can't be successful. So instead of sitting on the sidelines worrying about whatever everyone else is going to say, let me just dive in and take the risk. Let me get in the game. Yeah, let me get in the freaking game here. And then the moment I did that, everything in my life changed. But yeah, you're absolutely right, Jane. You can look at these super successful people and you can say, well, yeah, but I can never do that. And that's going to kill you. That's going to kill your chances of being successful.
I feel like this could be like a question on a survey is like how transformed are you? Like this is a really cool self-test, because I find it to be really accurate in that, like, think about somebody in your life who's up to like really big things, and are you super excited for them, and does that inspire you?
Yeah.
Or do you look at somebody who is up to really big things and go and tear it down? Like, oh, they were born with that, or they had this person to help them, or must be nice to have a parent that could put you through college, or, like, do something like that. And then the third way, are you kind of happy for them, but you still beat yourself up? And I think that's really telling as like a check-in of your own psychology.
That's what I meant. No, Jane, that's a really great point, because that's what I meant before by projecting.
Yeah.
That when you guys have other people that are hating on your stuff and they're posting on Facebook, all they're doing is taking their own internal story of why they can't have it and attaching it to you. Mm-hmm. And if it wasn't you, it would be someone else. Mm-hmm. Any like successful person that gets dropped in their path, they're going to react one of the three ways that Jane and I talked about. And if they're reacting in a way that oh my God, their ego is so fragile that the only way they could look at your success is to tear you down because they're so threatened by it, they're going to do it. But what you guys need to understand is it doesn't have anything to do with you. This person is just like, I want to say reacting, but not even, they're not even reacting. They're just like, they're like mentating. Like they're stuck on this like feedback loop of just like, I can't do this. Oh, well, they did it. Oh, well, they must be a loser. Oh, I can't do this. Oh, they did it. Oh, they must be evil. Or, oh, they did, and it's just got nothing to do with you. So the more energy that you put into that stuff when it does come up, and it will come up if you're trying to do something worthwhile, the more energy you put into that nonsense, now you're taking it and letting it infect your story. Mm-hmm. And that's the one thing that you really can't do. Because then you're going to be out there with this chip on your shoulder when really you should have just disregarded what that idiot on Twitter thought in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's such a great check-in is how you react to it and go, okay, if it's anything less than I'm totally inspired by this, then you got to say, you know what? This means I need to do some of my own psychology work. This means I need to do my own mindset work. This means I need to take the look at the beliefs that are having me show up this way, whether it's like the beliefs of tearing someone down or the beliefs of I don't think I can do that. It's really a great jumping off point of going, okay, where do I get to work on my own psychology? Mm-hmm. Russ, we were just in Hawaii for the Millionaire Alliance training. And one of the things I thought I haven't told you this, but it really struck me as like just another piece of who I know you to be. And we've been friends now for a long time, worked together. I don't know, what are we are getting close to our 4th year, I think.
Something like that. Yeah.
Crazy. But what had happened is one of your friends or somebody that you had worked with before, you worked for him, was on the cover. I think it was of Forbes.
Oh yeah.
And what was so cool is that when you were sharing, like it just came out, I think when we were getting on the plane or you had just seen it or something like that. And you're telling the story of like this guy getting on Forbes. And it really struck me because every single thing that you had to say and share about this story was of genuine excitement for this man. Like it was like you were genuinely so excited that he went from where he was to being on the cover of Forbes, and like what kind of person it was and what it took him to get there. And you just like, and you brought up the story like a couple of times because I was with, like, more people would, during the trip, we were together for 2 weeks, and so the story came up more than once. And every single time there was just this sense of congruency when you shared this story of this genuine excitement for the success that this person had. And also it spurred this like excitement about where we could go. Like you definitely used it as like this sense of like excitement for his success, but inspiration, even though it's completely not in the same at all.
No, it's totally different
thing that we do.
thing.
Like it was completely in a different realm of businesses. But I just remember feeling when you shared that story and hearing about it those 2 weeks, like I'm in the right place. Like I just felt like it was so on cue with your values that I don't know. I was struck by it. And so I think that that's just really a good opportunity for people just to, like I said, just check in, because I know everybody wants to be happy for someone's success, but we don't always operate like that.
Right. So it's just a question of what you're letting it mean. If you make it mean like, oh God, this other person succeeded and I'll never be able to do that, then of course that's going to just take the wind right out of your sails. But this is a guy who was actually my old boss. He actually owned the bar that I used to bartend at. And it wasn't just that he was in Forbes, it's that he made the Forbes 400 list, which if you guys don't know what that is the list of the 400 richest people in the United States. And he was on there and he wasn't at the bottom. And I was just like, oh my God, if he did that, there's no reason that I can't do that too. Because I this guy, I always had tremendous respect for him. He was very smart, very like strong businessman, very committed to his team and his employees, very committed to his customers. But he wasn't Superman. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't any different than any smart, hardworking, high integrity person. He really wasn't. He may work harder, he might push himself, but that's the part that you control. There wasn't anything about him where it's like, oh, he had a 180 IQ and he was just this off the charts genius or something that you just can't match up to. No, it wasn't like that at all. He was a regular guy who worked his ass off and devoted himself to what he wanted to create. And believe me, this guy took the slings and arrows, okay? Like talking about people talking smack about you. Oh my God. This guy's a real estate developer in California. And so every time he wanted to do anything, he has to go through the city council and they have to approve it. And then they have to have all these like public forums, and all these people are like saying all kinds of crazy stuff because they don't want to have to deal with the traffic about the new mall or whatever he's going to build. And it's just like, oh my God. So this is just like what he was having to deal with just as part of doing business, just to get anything done. And so anyway, when I saw this, I was so unbelievably inspired because I was like, you know what, man, good for him. But I also was like, you know what? If he could do it, there's no reason we can't do it too.
That's right.
And that's what you have to let it mean, guys, when you see someone that's super successful. And you just have to understand that, like, I don't care who you are or what your name is, somebody's always
decide, who are you? What is your identity? What is the mark you want to leave in this world? And what are your values? And if you are super clear about that, and not only super clear, but like live inside of it every day. Like every day, notice how you're living and breathing that, and that's a part of who you are. Then when all of this other stuff happens around you, and when you go to do something new and it catches your breath, when your emotional home, because you know who you are, you know your identity, you know the mark you want to leave in this world, and you know what you're about. And that is the easiest way to move through life. Doesn't mean that it's going to continue and always be easy, but if you have that strong home of where you really live and you condition it every day, it gets easier.
Absolutely. So guys, look, if you want us to help 100% dedicated to helping you get the clients that you need so that you can serve them at a higher level so you don't have to worry about what everyone else thinks, then I want you to go to clientsondemand.com/talk and book an appointment to speak to us. We'll get on the phone for about 45 minutes. You can tell us like everything that you want in your business, the impact you want to make, who you want to serve. If there's people out there talking smack, you can say, hey, there's people out there talking smack. Like whatever it is, we want to hear about it. And we will help you overcome all of it, not by playing smaller, but by playing bigger and by showing up the way that you want to show up, making the impact that you want to make. So go to clientsondemand.com/talk. Now, if you guys are checking us out on Facebook and you want to check out our podcast, it's on iTunes and it's also on Spotify. So you can check us out there. Or if you're listening to us on iTunes or Spotify, then come and check us out on Facebook. Come search for Clients on Demand on Facebook or search for our Facebook group, The Art of High Ticket Selling. And regardless, if you're on Facebook, set your notifications so that you get notified when we go live. You can go to our business page and there's a little notifications tab where you can go ahead and set your notifications so that you get notified when we go live so that you can enjoy these broadcasts with us live. JJ, thank you so much. You guys all have a fantastic week and we will see you on the next show. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.